It might finally be happening, and now there's a twist. According to ESPN's Brian Windhorst, the league believes a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade is finally coming, and the two-time MVP has focused on one destination, the Miami Heat. But the Bucks don't love Miami's offer. Multiple teams are circling, and the Boston Celtics just crashed the party. So let's break down the wildest trade saga of the entire offseason. Here's the plan, the report, and why now. Why Giannis wants out of Milwaukee, why Miami's his choice, the exact offer on the table, and why the Bucks aren't sold, the Celtics wildcard, the other teams and the fallback plans, and the draft deadline that could force it all to a head in days. Everything is attributed, the stats are verified, and the analysis is mine. This is Game is Culture. If you want every blockbuster broken down with real numbers and honest sourcing, hit subscribe. We're chasing 1,000. It's free and it helps a ton. Now, the report. What's being reported? On Monday, Brian Windhorst said, quote, "The league believes this is finally going to happen." Per his reporting, talks have intensified over the last 7 to 10 days, and Giannis is focused on wanting to be a member of the Miami Heat. The Heat and Bucks have been talking for months. This is no longer a vague rumor. It's a saga reaching its endgame. And one detail powers all of it. Giannis has just 1 year left on his contract, which gives him real say in where he ends up. And by multiple reports, he's indicated he would sign a long-term extension in Miami. That's the golden ticket. Any team trading a fortune for him needs that commitment. And right now, only Miami appears to have it locked down. And layer in the money. This fall, Giannis becomes eligible for an extension reportedly worth up to $275 million. Whichever team lands him isn't just trading for one season. They're betting on locking up a two-time MVP long term. That enormous commitment is exactly why the Bucks refuse to accept a thin return, and why Giannis's reported willingness to sign in Miami carries so much weight. Why he wants out. Here's the why. Even in an injury-hit season of just 36 games, Giannis was a monster. Nearly 28 points and 10 rebounds a night on 66% true shooting. He's a 13-year veteran with 2 MVPs and a championship. The talent has never been the issue. It still isn't. The problem is everything around him. The Bucks went 32-50, missed the playoffs entirely, and finished 27th in the league on defense. Outside of Giannis, they don't have a single 20-point per game scorer. For a player of his caliber, that is a prime being quietly wasted on a lottery team in a small market. And by all accounts, Giannis is now singularly focused on winning more titles. He's watched the Bucks fall from champions to also-rans, and he isn't interested in sitting through a slow rebuild in Milwaukee. When a superstar at his level decides the situation can't be fixed, a trade stops being a question of if and becomes a question of where and when. Why Miami? So why the Heat? Start with Pat Riley and the most respected culture in the sport, plus no state income tax and a true destination market. On the court, Miami has an elite two-way anchor in Bam Adebayo and a real scorer in Norman Powell, who led them at almost 22 a game. It's a proven winning infrastructure ready-made for a superstar. And the fit is frightening. Pair Giannis, the best downhill force alive, with Bam Adebayo, a switchable defensive anchor who can pass and screen. That's instantly one of the best defenses in basketball and a nightmare frontcourt. Add Miami's shooting around them and a 40-win team jumps straight into the contender tier. On paper, Giannis and Bam is a championship spine. The offer on the table. Now the sticking point, the actual offer. Per insider Jake Fisher, Miami's package would send guard Tyler Hero, young center Kel'el Ware, and forward Jaime Jaquez Jr. to Milwaukee, along with what's described as prime draft capital. On the surface, that's a real haul of youth and picks. But dig in and you see exactly why the Bucks keep hesitating.
Here's the catch. Hero is heading into an expiring contract, and neither Ware nor Jaquez profiles as a future all-star. For a two-time MVP, reporters have flatly called that an underwhelming return. Remember, a hero-centered package once wasn't even enough to land Damian Lillard. And crucially, Miami refuses to include Bam Adebayo, their best player, the one piece Milwaukee would actually want most. Windhorst put it bluntly, the Heat have been making offers for months and there's still no deal. As he said, if Milwaukee loved what Miami was offering, they would have done it already because it's been on the table for so long. Instead, the Bucks are out shopping for something better, and that is exactly how this whole thing got complicated. The Celtics wildcard. Enter Boston. Per multiple reports, speculation around the Celtics has gotten, quote, louder and louder and louder. Several reports say Giannis has Boston high on his list, and one even claimed the Celtics had an offer on the table built around trading away Jaylen Brown. Because Brown and Giannis make similar money, the salaries actually match up cleanly. Suddenly, this is a two-team race. But there's a major stumbling block in Boston. Acquiring Giannis would mean breaking up the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum core and completely overhauling the offense of a recent champion. And from Milwaukee's side, a team headed for a rebuild may not have much use for Brown, a 5-time All-Star entering his age 30 season. The money works, the basketball logic is a lot messier. The other teams, and the fallbacks. And remember, Windhorst said 3, even 4 teams are involved. On one podcast, insiders floated Orlando and Cleveland too, but both have strong reasons to keep young stars like Paolo Banchero and Evan Mobley rather than gamble that Giannis re-signs. Meanwhile, if Miami strikes out entirely, the reporting suggests the Heat could pivot to chasing Kawhi Leonard instead. So how does Miami win this? One insider framed it perfectly, as a war of attrition. The Heat may not have the flashiest package, but they have Giannis's preference, the cap pieces, and relentless persistence. They've been on the phone with Milwaukee for months. Sometimes the team that simply refuses to go away, and that the player actually wants, ends up outlasting everyone else at the table. The deadline. And there's a clock ticking. Bucks co-owner Jimmy Haslam said he wants the Giannis situation resolved before the draft. And per insider Mark Stein, people around the league believe his future will be settled by the time the draft begins on June 23rd. Teams are treating that as an informal deadline. In other words, this saga likely ends within days, not months. So it's shaping up as a 2-horse race. Miami has the player's preference, an elite running mate in Bam, and the persistence. Boston has the cleaner salary match and a bigger win-now name to send back in Jaylen Brown. One side offers Giannis the exact destination he wants. The other may offer Milwaukee the better player in return. That tension is the entire standoff. So who lands him? Based on the reporting, Miami remains the favorite. It's the destination Giannis prefers, and that matters enormously with only a year left on his deal. But the Bucks control the return, and rising Celtics interest makes this far from settled. I'd call it Miami in the lead, Boston lurking, and a real chance the final framework ends up surprising everyone before the draft. And the stakes could not be higher. The Knicks just won the title. Now imagine Giannis joining forces with Bam Adebayo in Miami, or landing next to Jason Tatum in Boston. Either outcome instantly creates a monster rival in the East and reshapes the entire title picture. One trade decided in the next few days could define the next half-decade of the conference. So is Giannis finally headed to Miami, or do the Celtics swoop in? The league believes a deal is coming. Giannis wants the Heat, but the Bucks hold the cards, and the draft deadline is days away. So where do you think he lands? And which team should scare the champion Knicks more? A Giannis and Bam Heat, or a Giannis and Tatum Celtics? Tell me below. And if you want every twist tracked, subscribe and join the family.